Good morning, everybody. This is Ganesh. So we can start our session now. Okay. I hope my voice is audible to everyone. So now I try to share my screen also. Okay. In the last class, we are discussing about entity relationship model. So what is the ER model? Okay. So what is an entity and what are the how we are maintaining the relationship between the one entity to the another entity? So these type of topics are we are discussed in the last class. So try to revise those topics now. Okay. My continue my session. Is it my voice is audible to everyone? Is it right? Okay. My continue my session. Okay. So in the last class, we are discussing about what is entity relationship model. So that means ER model. Okay, so this is one of the ER data model, am right? So in the last classes also we are discussing about what is a data model. What is the purpose of data model? Actually, to describing the data. Data model purpose is to describing the data. So we are giving some shape to the data, am right? Okay, so that can be referred as the data model. So ER data model, here we are using different types of symbols. So first of all, what is an entity? Entity is nothing but a thing or object in the real world. So that means which is having an attribute. So that can be treated as an entity. So we can consider anything. For example, maybe we are consider one phone. So then what are the attributes for the phone? Phone name, okay, phone company, okay, phone size, phone screen and phone camera, okay, phone memory. So like this, all these are the attributes. So in the same way, we can consider anything will be treated as an entity, and each if it is having, if it is an entity, it should be having attributes. Then what is an attribute? Attribute is nothing but description of an entity. Okay, then what is the relationship? So what type of relationship is having with the another entity is nothing but specified by using relation. Okay, so now we try to see. So in an entity relationship model, is a systematic way of describing and defining business process. So that means this is the one of the best way and easiest way to describing the data. So that means when we are designing some database, so then we can easily understood. So in which type of a data will be processed here. So ER model is typically implemented as a database. The main components of ER model are entity set and relationship set. Here we are consider the entity set and relationship set. So that means the collection of entities can be referred as a entity set, and the collection of relationships can be referred as a relationship set. Okay. Here the geometrical shapes and their meanings ER diagram. So rectangle is used for representing the entity sets. Ellipse are used for representing the attribute. Diamond symbol is used for representing the relationship. Lines are used for to connecting one entity to the relationship and a relationship to the entity. So double ellipse, multi-value attributes, dashed ellipse, derived attributes, double rectangle, weak entity sets, double lines, total participation. Okay, in this type of way, we are considering different types of symbols. In the exam point of view, may be asking, so what is the ER diagram? So then we can explain all these things. So what is an entity, what is an attribute, what is a relation, okay, and which type of symbols are used, and consider any one of the example. And what is the purpose of ER data model also. Okay, so in the last classes, so that means in the case of second unit, we are discussing about the relational data model. Am I right? So relational data model means nothing but whatever it may be representing the data that can be represented in the form of as a relation. Okay. So in the case of entity relationship data model, here we are representing the data in some specific symbols. Okay. Okay. Some of the messages. Yeah. Okay. So these are the symbols. So rectangle is used for representing an entity. Diamond symbol is used for representing the relationship. So ellipse is used for representing the attribute. And double rectangle is used for representing the weak entity. So I'm already saying about the weak entity. Okay, what is a weak entity? Okay, so weak entity means whenever we are not able to uniquely identify the data from the database. So that type of database is not having the primary key, right? So that type of entity can be referred as a weak entity. Okay, So here the name is implied. So that means if you are representing the entities like this, solid lines, so single line, so that can be referred as a strong entity also. So why? Because so entity is nothing but a table. Okay, for example, we are consider one student table. So then the entity name is student. Attributes of the or columns of the table can be referred to here we can representing with the attributes. Okay, so here for example in that table maybe we are not able to insert any one of the field is a primary key. So what is a primary key? So primary key means nothing but that is not allowing the duplicate values, and it will be used for to uniquely identify the data from the database. Okay, so that is the main purpose. Okay, that can be referred as a uniquely identifies the data from the database. Okay, so in the case of here, so when we are consider the weak entity, then we should be identifying the relationship also. That can be weak entity relationship. So double rectangle sorry double ellipse means nothing but a multi-value attribute. What is the meaning of multi-value? More than one value. So more than one value means, for example, our address, permanent address, temporary address, office address. So these are the multi-values. In the same way, phone number. So personal number, parents number, okay, or so office number like this. So in the same way, here we are considered composite attribute. So that means, so the attribute is composite. So that means, so the attribute is not a single. So that means here we are maybe consider name. Name is a composite attribute because first name, middle name, last name, like that. So that is nothing but only single attribute, but it can be divided into the some other attributes. First name is one attribute, last name is one attribute, middle name is another attribute. Okay, and another one is the key attribute. If you are observing here, so in the ellipse symbol, so we are drawing one line. So it represents key attribute. So that means it is a primary key in the table. Okay, primary key. Okay, it is a used for to representing the primary key. Okay, please just hello. 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 Yeah. Okay, key attribute is nothing but uniquely identifies the data from the database. And this is the derived attribute. So derived attribute means here we are calculating the value. For example, maybe, so enter our date of birth, but it will be displaying what is our age to the current date. Am I right? So for example, we are enter our date of join, but it will be represents. So what is the total experience? Okay. And here we are representing when we are consider the relationship with the two entities, then we can consider into the four types of relationships. So that can be referred as a cardinality. So we can discuss later, but here representing with the diagrams. So cardinality means nothing but relationship between the one entity set to the another entity set. Previously I mentioned about that. So entity set means so collection of entities. Okay, here also number of entities, and here also number of entities, and these entities having the relationship with another entity in a entity set. Okay, for example, maybe here some set of employees. For example, our college. So our college having so many employees. So maybe the staff, or maybe the technician, or maybe the so any other employee. So that means our college having so many employees. Those are having the relationship with the college in a department, particular department. For example, CSC staff having the relationship with the CSC department, ECE staff having the relationship with ECE department, office staff having the relationship with CRR of the office college. Am I right? So in this type of way, here we are consider the four types of relationships. So they are so one to many. Okay, the first one is one to many. So that means one employee having the relationship with more than one department. So at this time of situation here in this entity set, we are consider only one of the person. That person is having the relationship with more than one entity in the second entity set. For example, maybe the same staff maybe works in the, for example, maybe teaching the subject in, for example, maybe triple E, ECE, or FED. So, or at the same time CSE also. So that means the same single person maybe works in more than one department. So that type of relationship is referred as a one to many, can representing like this. One means in this entity from only one person. N means here we are using so many departments. Another one is the, so here also one to many. Am I right? Here only we are representing only single line, and but here we are representing double line. So what is the meaning of double line from the entity? So that is nothing but a total participation. So that means in this entity set, so each and every entity is having the relationship with this entity. For example, maybe principal is having the relationship with total departments. Am I right or not? So principal is having the relationship with total department. So that means each and every department is having the relationship with the only single person. So there is nothing but total participation also. Here the same thing will be. So here we are representing one to many, and this same thing is reverse here, many to one. Okay. So that means many students having the only single department. Am I right? So many students having maybe selecting the single colors. So nothing but many to one relationship. So in the same way, here we are consider, okay. So one to one, at the same time one to many to many. Okay. So many to one also. Okay. So one to one means one entity is having the relationship with only one entity. So one to many means one entity is having the relationship with more than one entity. Many to one means so many entities having the relationship with only one entity. So many to many means many number of entities having the many number of entities relationship. Okay, we try to discuss later in the next classes. Just it is a representation of this diagram. Okay, so next one, first of all, what is an entity? Entity is an object that exists and it is distinguishable from other objects. So that means once we are representing the entity in a particular ER diagram, so that should be distinguishable from other objects. So that means, for example, we are consider, so maybe students. So one of the entity will be treated as students. So then another type of entity is not able to specify. So that is the student. So that means we try to represent with another name. So for example, so specific person, company, event, plant, building, room, chair, course, employee. So in this type of way, we can consider anything is an entity. Okay. So in the AR diagram, an entity is represented using rectangles. Name of the entity is written inside the rectangle. So that means name of the entity is written in the inside of the rectangle. For example, this is a student entity. This is the employee entity. This is the account entity. So this entity is having what are the types of attributes now? So student number, student age, student name, like this. So a strong entity is represented by simple rectangle shown on above. So that means if you are not representing, if you are just representing only the single line, so that is nothing but strong entity. What is the meaning of strong entity? Whenever that entity is having the key attribute. So how we are representing the key attribute? So in the ellipse symbol, so we are representing the solid line. Okay. So next one is the consider an example of organization. Employee, manager, department, product, many more can be taken as entities from an organization. So for example, we are considering an organization. So in that organization, everything will be treated as an entity. Am I right? For example, employees having attributes. So manager having attributes, department having attributes. Am I right? So which is having attributes that can be treated as an entity. Okay. So the if we are observed here, so two entities having the relationship. Employee works for department. So here we are not representing any double rectangles, any double lines for the relationship also. So that means this is the strong entity. So that means this entity is also having the primary key, and this entity is also having the primary key. Okay, if you are observe here, this is the weak entity. So why? Because so this is the double rectangle. So that means when we are representing the double rectangle like this, so this type of entity is not having the key attribute or primary key. Okay, so what is the purpose of, for example, maybe if you are not giving the roll number to you, so then how you can see the result? So when the results are released, so you are not able to see the your results. Am I right or not? So it's a difficult procedure. Am I right or not? So that means why? Because your number is, if your number is assigned to some other one, so then we can't able to uniquely identify. And am I right or not? So that's why we try to assign some primary key. For example, in some type of situations, maybe you are not consider primary key for the table. So maybe the same type of number is also assigned for some other one. So at the time of the situation, we are not able to identify the data. So that type of entity can be referred as a weak entity. So if you observe here, weak entity is that depends upon another entity. Why? Because so that is not able to retrieve the data. So that's why it will be depends upon another entity. Weak entity does not have a key attribute of their own. So double rectangle represents the weak entity. Okay, an entity set is a set of entities. So what is the meaning of entity set? So entity set is nothing but a set of entities of the same type that share the same properties. In the previous example also I'm considering that. So our college having employees. So all the employees having the same type of properties. Am I right or not? So maybe each and every employee so maybe belongs to some degree. At the same time their common property is so they are working in the our college. So that is the same property. So an entity is a set of collection of similar entities. So entity set means the collection of similar entities. For example, set of all persons, companies, job positions, courses, academic staff, managers, employees, students, so etc. Okay, so all entities and entities are having the same set of attributes. So that means when we are combined, it is an entity set means whenever all the entities having the same type of attributes. For example, maybe we are consider for the student table, then each and every student having same type of. Please just wait here 1 minute. Okay, sorry for the disturbance. Hello. Okay. So all these topics are we discussed in the last class. Just I try to revise now. Okay. So all entities. So when we are combined, it is an entity set means. So that means whenever all the entities having the same type of attributes. So for example, if you are consider one student table, in that student table, each and every student having a similar type of number. Am I right or not? For example, maybe one of the student number is, for example, maybe 19B8 1A0 502, and another student number is 19B8 1A0 503. Am I right or not? So that means similar. So maybe they are belong to the same table, same branch. Okay, same type of marks. So all the students are compared with the same marks. For example, one of the student having the mid one marks, another student is also having the mid one marks. Am I right or not? So that means same type of attributes are here we are considered. So that will be treated as an entity set. Okay, each attribute has a domain. So that means each and every attribute has a one domain. So that means what is the meaning of domain? So which type of data type is assigned to that particular attribute? For example, for we are consider student number. So which type of data type is assigned? Either int or maybe float or maybe number. Am I right or not? In the same way, student name. So then which type of data type is assigned? So either char or varchar. Okay. So in this type of we are assigned some type of data type. So that is nothing but a domain. The employees entity set with attributes SSN, name, and IoT. Sorry, a lot is shown figure 2.1. So we try to see in the diagram. Okay. An entity set is represented by rectangle, and attribute is represented by an oval or ellipse. Each attribute in the primary key is underlined. So that means if it is a key attribute or primary key, then it should be underlined. So if you are observe here, SSN, name, lot. Okay. So SSN is nothing but like as a student number. Okay. So that's why it is different from others and it is not matched with others. So it is a unique attribute. So this will be underlined with the single line. So that means this is a primary key. Remember this. Okay. Next, attribute. An entity is represented by set of attributes. Attributes are descriptive properties possessed by each member of an entity set. So that means attributes are used for giving the description about an entity. Okay, an attribute describes a property or characteristics of an entity. For example, name, age, address. So can be attributes of a student. An attribute is represented using, it is a ellipse. Okay. Okay, next. So for example, maybe student is a one entity or one table. So this table is having these columns. So what are the columns? Name, student ID, address, and phone number. So these are the columns or attributes. Okay. For example, here we are consider customer. So customer ID, customer name, customer street, customer city. Okay. In the same way, we are considered another table or entity. So that is loan. So loan number, loan ID, loan amount. Okay. Key attribute. So we can representing the key attribute is like this. So key attribute represents the main characteristics of an entity. It is used represented as a primary key. Okay. Ellipse with underlying lines representing key as a key attribute. So composite attribute. An attribute can also have their own attributes. So these attributes are also as composite attributes. In otherwise, so whenever we are able to divide the attribute into some other attributes, so that is nothing but composite attribute. So here the same thing is represented. Composite attributes can be divided into subparts. So which is not able to divide into the subparts, that is nothing but a single attribute. Okay. If it is a multi-value attribute, so then we can assign more than one value. If it is a single value attribute, we can able to assign only one value. For example, what is the age of student? So we can say only 25 or 35 or 40 like this. But what is the phone number of the student? We can assign more than one. So that means that is nothing but multi-value. So in the case of composite attribute, here the same attribute will be divided to the more than one. So for example, first name, last name, etc. So could be structured as a composite attribute consisting of first name, middle name, and last name. So we can diagrammatically represent it like this. For example, address is an attribute. So in that address, we can divide into the like this. So what is the city, state, zip? So actually, but this is not a exact example. So better example is name. So first name, last name, middle name. So why? Because that is the only single attribute. But here we are not consider the single attribute. Okay. So multi-value attribute, the name is in place. So previously I mentioned that. So if you are assigned more than one value for the attribute, so that is nothing but multi-value. For example, what are the phone numbers of the student? Then we can assign more than one. Am I right or not? What is the address of the student? Then we can assign more than one. But what is the age of the student? Then we can assign only one. Okay, an attribute that can hold multiple values is known as multi-value attribute. So we represent in the diagram in the double ellipse. So previously we are observe the examples. Sorry, symbols. So in that symbols we are representing that. So double ellipse is nothing but multi-value attribute. Double rectangle is weak entity. So double lines is total participation. Okay. Okay, example, a person can more than one phone numbers. So the phone number attribute is a multi-value attribute. There may be an instance where an attribute has set of values specific entity. Okay, so consider an employee entity set with the attribute phone number. An employee has 0 or 1 or several phone numbers, and different employees may have different numbers of phones. This types of attribute is said to be attribute having more than one values. Example is phone number. Derived attribute. What is the derived attribute? So when we are deriving from some other one, or when we are calculating from the one attribute, so that is nothing but derived attribute. Okay, a derived attribute is one whose value is dynamic and derived from another attribute. Okay, next one is the dash and derived attribute is represented with the dash lines. Okay, so in a year diagram, person age is derived from attribute. It changes from over time. It can be derived from another attribute. For example, we are entering actually date of birth, but it will be displaying what is the age of today till today. Okay, so for example, we are entering our age is 2000. So then it will be displaying the 21 years today. Am I right or not? So that means deriving attribute. Okay, if you are observe here, so this is the dashed ellipse. So that means derived attribute. So that means we are calculating from this attribute. So and if you observe here, this is the double ellipse. Okay. So this is can be referred as a multi-value attribute. So if you observe here, two IDs having the underline. So that is nothing but a key attribute. Okay. I hope all of the members able to understood. And here we are representing the single line of the rectangle. So that is nothing but a strong entity. Okay. So total participation of an entity set. So a total participation of an entity set represents that each entity in entity set must have at least one relationship in a relationship set. I think the name is implies. Total participation means here, uh, total participation means here we are representing, please wait here 1 minute. Okay, here total participation means here number of more than one entity is participated with the another entity. For example, maybe we are consider one hospital. Okay, in that hospital, each and every patient having the relationship with the doctor. Am I right? So that means here patients having the total participation. Okay, patient having the total participation. So that is nothing but a one to many relationship. Why? Because one doctor only able to serve more than one patient. Okay, for all the patients having the relationship with only single doctor, so that is nothing but a total participation. Am I right or not? For example, maybe in the college, so every employee or maybe student are having relationship with the principal. Am I right or not? So that means all these members having only one principal. So nothing but so it is a total participation. Am I right? Okay. So in the below diagram, each college must have at least one associated student. So if you observe here, student. Okay, so what are the attributes for the student? Student ID, student name, student address, student, okay, student phone number, like that. So we can consider any number of attributes from the single entity. So now if you are observe here, college is also one entity. So what are the attributes for the college ID? So what is our college ID? B8. So our college is code is B8. So that's why your number is having also B8. So for example, your number 19B8 1A0 501. Am I right? So B8 is the college code. So in the same way, college ID, college name, college address. So these are the attributes. Now, what is the relationship between the student and college? So student is studying in the college. If you are observe here, so college having the total participation. Each college have at least one associated with the student. Okay, so that means here each and every college having association with the at least one student. So that is nothing but a total participation. Actually, we try to represent in the reverse order. Okay, college having so many students, so that's why better you try to represent in this type of way. So and you please remember in the exam point of view, even though you can draw in some other type of way, it is not a wrong. Why? Because it is a design. So we can design according to our own wish. So there is no problem. So we can design according to our idea. Okay. Relationships and relationship sets. I think the name is implies. Relationship means nothing but so it will be specifying the relationship between from one entity to the another entity. Relationship set means so nothing but the collection of relationship entities. Okay. Relationship is an association or connection among the two or more entities. So that means here, if you are observe here, so more than one entity is having the relation. So through relationship, okay, if you observe here, employee is an entity, department is an entity, employee having some attributes, and SSN is a primary key. Okay, and the department ID is the primary key. Now these two having the relationship. What is the relationship for the employee and department? Employees works in particular department. So from which time? So since For example, maybe 2000 to 2021. Okay, 2000 to 2021. So 21 years. I'm right or not? So that means since means that is. So from which time to which time? We may have the relation works in among entities. Employ the departments, that is, employee works in a department. A relationship set is a collection of similar relationships, or we collect a similar relationship uh, into a relationship set. So that means here we are consider the similar relationship. In the previous example also I'm saying about that entity set. So if the all entities having the similar properties, so if they are common, so then only we are able to making as an one set. I'm right. So in the same way, here whenever employee is having the relationship with the department, so if the relationship is works in, so if it is similar, so then only we are able to, it is a combined into a set. So that means in that relationship set, more than one relations can be maintained. So a relationship set can be thought of as a set of n tuples. N tuple means rows. Okay, so some set of rows are there. For example, E1 employee to En. Okay, so these are belonging to the particular department and maintain the relationship. Each tuple denotes relationship involving entities E1 through En, where entity is in entity set EI. Note that several relationships might involve the same entity sets. For example, we can also have a manager's relationship set involving employees and departments. So a relationship all can also have descriptive attributes. So what is the use of descriptive attribute? So up to now we are discussing about different types of attributes, am I right? So composite attribute, multi-value attribute, derived attribute, okay, single value attribute, okay, single attribute. So now we are discussing about descriptive attribute. So we try to discuss in one word. So single attribute means whenever we can't able to divide into the some other one. So that is nothing but a single attribute. So if we are able to divide into the some other one, that is composite attribute. If you are assign only single value for the attribute, it is a single value attribute. If you are assign more than one value for the attribute, that is multi-value attribute. Okay, and next one is the derived attribute means we are deriving something from the existing one. So there is nothing but a derived attribute and representing the dashed ellipse. Okay, now we are discussing about the descriptive attribute. Descriptive attributes are used to record the information about the relationship. So that means it will be used for to record the information about the relationship. So that means which is having the, so that means which attributes are having the relationship. So those are also we can treat it as descriptive attributes. Why? Because these are recording the information about the relationship. For example, in works in relationship, since attribute captures the information about participating entities. So for example, in the previous example here, we are mentioned one attribute. So what's that attribute for the relationship? That is since. So that means since will be maintaining the information from, so for example, maybe one employee E1, one department D1. So now E1 is works in the department from which time? For example, maybe so E1 is works in the department from 2000 to 2010 in one department, CSC. Now the same employees works from the 2010 to 2021 in EC department. So that means here the since will be captures the information so about the employee and the department. Okay, so that type of attribute will be referred as a descriptive attribute. Please try to remember all these type of attributes. So why? Because in the exam point of view, in some type of situations may be asking, so what is the purpose of that particular attribute? Okay, so descriptive attributes are used to record the information about the relationship rather than about any one of the participating entities. So in works relationship, since attribute captures the information about participating the employees and departments. But for a given employee department pair, we cannot have more than one associated since attribute value. So that means here we cannot have more than one associated since attribute. So we are not able to assign more than one attribute for the relationship. So an instance of a relationship instance is a set of relationships. So we're all discussing about the instance in the last classes. So what is an instance and what is the schema? So what is the meaning of instance? So what type of tuples, how many number of tuples are maintained in that particular time? So that can be referred as an instance. So we're already using the same type of word in our daily situations. So in which instance? So or in which instant? So that means here it will be representing particular moment. So the particular moment of the time will be referred as an instance. So maybe for example, we are entering some values into the table. For example, if we are observed sometime, so maybe some of the tuples in a table. Maybe if we are observe the same table after the some time, again the tuples will be either increased or maybe decreased. So that means, in the previous instance, maybe the table is having the 5 rows. In the next instance, maybe the table is having 10 rows. So that means here the availability of the data is changed from one instance to the another instance. So that means here the instance means at that particular moment how many number of tuples are available in that particular table. Okay, if you observe here, an instance of relationship or relationship instance is a set of relationships. So in the previous when we are discussing about the relational data model, then we are discussing about relational instance. So what is the meaning of relational instance? How many number of tuples are maintained in the table can be referred as a relational instance, am I right? So in the same way, relational degree means how many number of columns are maintained. Okay, so an instance can be thought of as a snapshot, a short description of the relationship set some instant in time. So that means here we are based upon that particular time. So an instance of the works in a relationship set is shown in figure 2.3. So we will try to see that. So each employee entity is denoted by its in SSN, and each department is an entity is denoted by DAD for the simplicity. If you observe here, some set of employees are there. So this is the one employee, and this is another employee, this is another employee, and this is another employee. Now, if you observe here, so these are the departments. For example, 51, 56, 60 are the departments. So now the 3666 employee maybe works from 1191 to till today in the 51 department. Now, if you observe the second employee, so 368 employee works from 3393 in 51 department. In the same way, the same employee from 2292 to till today in the 56 department also. So that means here the same employee works in more than one department, and here we are mentioned the time. So from which time to which time. Okay, so another one, so 3650 is another employee. He works in the 60 department. So maybe another employee also works in the 60 department. So that means we are observing here. So one entity in the one entity set can be having the relationship with more than one. So 368 is having the relationship with the two departments, 51 and 56. In the same way, 60 is also having the more than one employee. So that means this is nothing but many to one, and this is nothing but one to many. So if we are consider both are like this, for example, maybe 368 is works in more than one department, and 51 is having more than one employee. So that is nothing but many to many. Okay, we try to discuss about later. Okay, the since value shown beside each relationship is many to many. So relationships and total participation, that is employee with the SSN 3666 works in DAD since since 1191. Similarly, the employee within SSN 368 works in DAD 51 from 3393. Am I right or not? So that means here we are representing the relationship with the instance. So we are observing the relationship from time to time. So that type of the thing will be referred as a relational instance. So that means we don't know. So after some time, so maybe that employee works in which department. Am I right? So that means maybe he is changed. Okay. I hope all of the members able to understood this. So this is nothing but an entity set. So entity set means nothing but all employees having the same type of attributes. For example, each and every employee having the same type of employee ID, each and every employee having the same type of salary. So and these are having the relationship. So that is maybe, so these are works in the some particular departments. And here we are consider the some set of relationships. Okay, so this attribute so maintains the information about, so this employee works from works in which department. Okay, and this attribute maintains the information about this employee. So in how many departments having the relationship. So that means these type of attributes are referred as a descriptive attribute. Okay, next one is the ternary relationship. So I hope all of the members able to understood. Okay, ternary relationship. So up to now we are discussing about the binary relationship. So what is the meaning of binary relationship? Means whenever relationship between the two entities. I think the name is implies binary. Binary means 0 or 1. So that means whenever we are maintaining more than one, sorry, only two. So that can be referred as a binary relationship. Actually, this is the example for binary relationship. So why? Because these two entities having the relationship. Okay, so that means here we are maintaining binary relationship. So now we try to discuss about the ternary relationship. The name is implies more than one or exactly three. So that can be referred as a ternary relationship. For example, if you are observed here, so employees works in the particular department, but another entity is also having the relationship. So that means location. So in which location? Okay, in which location he is works in that particular department. Okay, maybe in some type of situations, for example, maybe you are consider the location also. For example, maybe that employee belongs to the banking employee. So maybe he is works in the SBI. Okay, maybe he is working in the SBI as a cash manager. Okay, or cashier. Okay, so that is the department. So now he is works in which location? For example, maybe he is works in maybe Hyderabad, or maybe Kakinada, or maybe Vizag. So like this. So that means here we are, maybe it will be vary from time to time also. So that means here we are, main thing is ternary relationship means nothing but more than, sorry, more than two or exactly three. Okay, so we try to discuss in the next class. So today we are discussing about what is an entity, what are the types of attributes, and what is an entity set, what is a relationship set, and what is a relationship instance. Okay, and what is a key attribute, and what is a multi-value attribute. Okay, what is a derived attribute. So and we are representing with some symbols also. Okay, if you're having any about the problems or doubts, you can ask me now. Okay, I will try to share this PPT after the completion of this class. So then you can study once. If you're having any type of the doubts, you can ask me. Okay. Uh, if you're having any type of the doubts, you can ask me now. So we'll try to discuss in the next class. So maybe completely queries. Okay. So otherwise, we try to repeat the 3 units after the completion of this unit. Okay. So better, better if you are repeating the unit, so that is the best way. Why? Because why I need to repeat again? So if any member is interest, please message me or contact me personally. So you please so follow through those types of PPTs. Okay, and get ready for to face the first minute also. Why? Because we are already completing. We are in the half of the 13th. Okay, and we will try to cover some other extra topics, so out of the syllabus also. So maybe those are used in the real time of the situation. So that's why we try to focus on some other extra syllabus also. Okay, and I'm already saying about one thing. So better we try to do one project. Okay, so simply we try to generate one simple interface. So that interface is how to connect the database functionality from front end to the back end and back end to the front end. So just to try to develop small application. So maybe it will be, if you having interest, you try to elaborate that. Actually, we are not having the facility. So we are in the online. So that's why we are not having the time. So better we try to do that. Okay. If you're having any type of the doubts, you can ask me now. Otherwise, I will end the session now. If you're facing any type of the difficulty in my teaching, also you can explain. No problem. Okay. If you are not able to contact me in this time, so you can contact me in your free time, no problem. So I think all of the members is having my number, so you can contact me through phone directly. So my end the session now. So and I try to say one thing. So all of the members please join before the time. For example, if the class is 9 o'clock, so better you try to join 8:55 or 8:56. Okay, why? Because every day I will wait for so more than 5 minutes. So actually here wasting our time. So not only in my class, better you try to join in all classes. And I observe so many members not attending the classes regularly. So if you are not having the attendance more than 75, so maybe you are not eligible for promote from this year to the another year. Please remember this. Please try to remember to maintain the attendance properly. Okay, so most of the members not attending the class. Okay, please maintain the attendance properly. Okay, thank you, Anandal. Now I my end my session now. Okay, thank you everyone.